أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سأصرف عن آياتي الذين يتكبرون في الأرض بغير الحق وإن يروا كل آية لا يؤمنوا بها وإن يروا سبيل الرشد لا يتخذوه سبيلا وإن يروا سبيل الغي يتخذوه سبيلا ذلك بأنهم كذبوا بآياتنا وكانوا عنها غافلين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said into the previous ayat, onto the demand of Musa alayhi salatu wassalam and his people, they were given divine guidance into the alwah, and they were advised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take it firmly. In this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that I will remove from my ayat, from my guidance, from my miracles, I will remove them, I will not allow them to come nearer. Whom? Those who has pride into the earth without any haqq. They don't do any justice by doing pride into the earth. And because of that pride, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that they will not be given tawfiq to come to my ayat. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving signs of their pride. وَإِن يَرَوْا كُلَّ آيَةٍ لَا يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَا. When they see every miracle performed by Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, or by any messenger, by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or any ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes to them and they see that ayat, لَا يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَا. They're not bringing iman onto ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِن يَرَوْا سَبِيلَ الرُّشْدِ لَا يَتَّخِذُوهُ سَبِيلًا. If they see path of guidance, then they don't take that path. They don't take that route. وَإِن يَرَوْا سَبِيلَ الْغَيِّ يَتَّخِذُوهُ سَبِيلًا. And when they see path of deviation and dhalalat, then they take that route. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَكَانُوا عَنْهَا غَافِلِينَ. Why does this happening? Because they have made takdeeb with our ayat. They rejected our ayat. They did not accept our ayat. They did not believe into our ayat. وَكَانُوا عَنْهَا غَافِلِينَ. And they were into heedlessness regarding these ayats. So this is the one ayat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning people of pride. And this ayat will become mirror onto the whole human history. Whenever haqq came, who followed haqq and who became rebels against haqq, who rejected the haqq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that when our ayat comes, those who are people of pride, then they don't get tawfiq to pay any attention towards our ayat, to take any heed from our ayat, because of their own pride. And they have no justification onto their pride. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention their signs, that when ayat comes to them, it's a crystal clear ayat, crystal clear miracle and mu'jiza. Any decent human being has decency and ponder about it, then he will come to know that this miraculous performance by this Nabi, it is not humanly act. It is divine. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anybody can understand that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, when they see some ayat, when they see any ayat, they don't bring iman. When they see path of guidance, they don't take that route. But when they see path of deviation, zalalat, path of ghay, path of not haqq, then they take that route, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. And why that happens? Because they had made takzeeb about our ayat. And they showed ghaflat, heedlessness, negligence. That is why these signs, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from all kinds of pride. There are levels of pride. There are levels of pride. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from pride. O Allah, protect us from the pride of Fir'auniyat of any time. O Allah, protect us from the pride of kufr of any time. Pride of the shirk of any time. Pride of the hypocrisy of any time. Pride of the falsehood of any time. And sometimes we have pride within ourselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Some of the ulama, they had mentioned one beautiful terminology. Al-ilmul hijabul akbar. Sometimes you possess ilm, and that ilm is driving you into the ocean of pride. Then that ilm also becomes al-hijabul akbar. The greatest veil between you and your Creator. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. That's why sometimes they say that the pride of wealth and position is lesser pride than the pride of piety. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. It is very easy to look down onto everybody else. No. If we are a true believer, then we look down upon ourselves. Allah protect us from the pride. When you go into the sajda, the closest part of the whole salat, that you throwing yourself, your dignity, your respect, your ego into the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us reality of the sajda. Shaitan became shaitan because of pride, and because of that pride which made him refuse to do one sajda. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give our may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our every sajda powerful. That it is full of humility, full of humbleness. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from external pride and internal pride. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Beautiful terminology. Al-ilmul hijabul akbar. Sometimes ilm becomes biggest hijab between yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who had more ilm than shaitan at that time? But he became shaitan. Because shaitani arrogance. He had everything. He had ibadat. He had intellect. He had ilm. Everything. Ulama said that he had ilm. And proof for that, Imam Razi rahmatullah alayhi, one of the great alim of our history, one of the great mufassir, one of the great theologian, when he was about to leave this world. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make our departure beautiful from this world. Allah provide us imani atmosphere, not musical atmosphere. Allah provide us rahmani atmosphere, not the shaitani atmosphere. You depart from this world either into the surrounding of rahmani surrounding, or either you depart from this world into the surrounding of shaitani surrounding. Imam Razi rahmatullah alayhi, when he was leaving this world, shaitan came. That is the time the biggest attack person receives from shaitan. So, he started debating about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. About Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Razi rahmatullah alayhi gave 99 arguments. 99 arguments. On every argument, Shaitan was bringing rejection intellectually. When it came to 99 arguments were rejected by Shaitan intellectually. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's divine aid came and help came. And that is, for ilm also, don't be independent in seeking ilm. No. I will search through Google. I will go on to this website and that website. When it comes to deen and the qualities of deen, whether ilm, amal, quality, sifat, they will be only valid that when it comes from heart to heart. Not from screen to heart. Not from Google to heart. It is not valid. It is invalid. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us onto the right track. So Imam Razi rahmatullah, he was connected to the right track. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's divine help came and someone was saying to him that tell Shaitan that I believe Allah without any proof. I don't need proof for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he said that I believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in his existence, in his tawheed, and I don't need proof. My firmness, my conviction, my belief, my iman is more than sufficient. That is the biggest. He said that and he was no more. So he left world with iman. So Shaitan possessed very high intellect because he gave hard time to such an intellectual person. Ibadat, Shaitan and Ibadat. You go to Jannat before he was expelled from the Jannat. Every portion of Jannat was bearing testimony for the Ibadat of Shaitan. That is Shaitan. That argument of Razi rahmatullah, that is about ilm. He possessed ilm. When it comes to aql, when it comes to intellect, he said that why should I make sajda to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam? Because he is being created from clay and I am being created from fire. And this is intellectually weighty argument that fire is higher than clay. So, aql wise also he is superior. Ibadat wise also he is superior. Ilm wise also he is superier. With all these qualities, he became Shaitan because he had pride. Because he had pride. He had no ishq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he had ishq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's why ulama said that when it comes to aql, one ayn, ilm, another ayn, ibadat, another ayn. He had all these ayn. He didn't have ayn of ishq. If he had ayn of ishq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him that Shaitan make sajda to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. He wouldn't have said that why should I make sajda to somebody who is lower than me. He would have said, no Allah, you are my beloved. I love you. You are my mahbub. I need to carry out your command. Your instruction is beyond everything. Who will lead you into this drive? Ishq. Ishq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Humbleness. He didn't have ishq. That's why he became Shaitan. So sometime ilm becomes al-hijabul akbar. So today, whole day we will spend making dua that, oh Allah, give us such ilm which create humbleness. Allah, connect us to Quran and Sunnah of your Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Give us authentic ilm, but at the same time, Allah, give us humbleness, give us humility. Allah, save us from the pride, internal and external pride. Pride of disbelievers and pride of believers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from both. So this is beautiful ayat, and on this ayat, you can check the whole history. People of arrogance, people of pride. Even nowadays, how they are behaving. We're talking about Sham. Whole world is focusing on Sham because they know what has been said through Quran and Sunnah and through divine revelation. They all believe, but they have pride of rejecting haqq. That's why they are opposing haqq. They have all come together. World players are focusing on to the Sham more than anything else. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us iman. Whatever situation we fall in, sometime weak, sometime not weak, but oh Allah, keep us connected to the teaching of your beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam. with iman like Sahaba, with qualities like Sahaba, with obedience like Sahaba, with humbleness like Sahaba, with courage like Sahaba, with the vastness for love and care for the whole ummah like Sahaba. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant it to all of us. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Wa man tabi'ahum ila yawmiddin. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. Ya awwal al-awwalin. Ya akhir al-akhirin. Ya rahim al-masakin. Ya dhal quwwati al-mateen. Ya dhal manni fala yumannu alayk. Ya dhal tawul. Ya dhal jalali wal ikram. La ilaha illa ant. زهر اللاجئين وجار المستجيرين ومأمن الخائفين يا مأمن الخائفين إن كنت كتبتنا عندك في الكتاب أشقياء فامحو عنا اسم الشقاء فامحو عنا اسم الشقاء وإن كنت كتبتنا عندك في الكتاب مقطرا علينا أرزاقنا فامحو تقطير رزقنا وحرمان رزقنا واكتبنا وأثبتنا عندك سعداء ووفقنا الخير فإنك تقول في كتابك يمحو الله ما يشاء ويثبت وعنده الكتاب الكتاب اللهم إنا نسألك فعل الخيرات وترك المنكرات وحب المساكين وأن تغفر لنا وترحمنا فإذا أردت بقوم فتنة فتوفنا غير مفتونين غير خزايا ولا ندام ولا مفتونين اللهم ارزقنا حبك وحب من يحبك وحب عمل يقربنا إلى حبك اللهم علمنا الكتاب والتأويل اللهم فقهنا في الدين اللهم اجعلنا علماء فقهاء اللهم اجعلنا من الراسخين في العلم واجعلنا من التوابين واجعلنا من المتطهرين المتطهرين واجعلنا من عبادك المخلصين المخلصين واجعلنا من الذين لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون اللهم زينا بالقرآن اللهم اشرح صدورنا للقرآن ولسنة حبيبنا صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم نور قلوبنا بنور الإيمان والقرآن والسنة اللهم فك رقبتنا من النار اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من السلاسل والأغلال اللهم أيد الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم حرر الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم حرر بلاد المسلمين اللهم حرر الغزة اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى والمسلمين المظلومين في فلسطين اللهم أيدهم بروح منك اللهم كن لهم ولا تكن عليهم اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا وحبيبنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمته